Welcome to the LCP Digital Learning Channel. Today is going to be a two-part video on Mathigon.org, which is different than the app Polypad or Mathigon in self-service. So Mathigon.org has a lot more features that we're going to jump into. This first video, we're going to go in through all the features that are available. The second video, which is this QR code and link if you'd like to start there, the second video is going to go through how to save and share templates directly to students with a link. So let's jump into some of the features and then you can watch the second video on how to share this with your students. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do when I go to Mathigon.org in Safari is I'm going to find this little icon right here at the top right corner. And it's either going to sign in or if you've not used this before, create a new account. Either way, we're going to use Google. All right, now that I've signed in, you can see I have my Google icon up here. Now go ahead at this top, click Polypad. All right, once I'm in Polypad, over here on the left-hand side, we have all the different tools we can add to our template here in the middle. So under geometry, some cool things is we have polygons and shapes. What's really cool about the shapes is you can cut shapes in half, but you don't actually have to cut them in half. You can cut any way that you'd like to talk about different parts of the shapes. And also, when you have a shape selected, when you press play, it will actually highlight the sides and vertices of that shape. All right, we also have tangrams, Penrose tiles, pentagon. 3D solids are really great because when you bring in a 3D solid, you can actually use this slider to unfold this 3D shape into a flat shape, which is a great way for teachers and students to see how these shapes are created based on flat sides. The next one I want to point out is utensils. This is where you can find rulers, protractors, and compasses. And what's great is these are actually usable. So when I bring a compass in, I can hold here and actually create a perfect circle. And then I can make it move, I can spread it out. So this actually works just like a compass. All right, the next section is numbers. This is where you can find number tiles. And what's great about these is you can add them. Once they've been added, you can split them, merge them, and split, and actually split it again to where now you see this as single ones, okay? You can also bring in the cube part of it, where when you split those, it actually shows what that looks like. So really great visuals right here. You're also going to have number bars, number frames, number cards, all these kind of things, and even number lines. And what's great about these number lines is when I bring it in, I can actually pinch with my fingers to zoom out and then grab the sides and make this number line as long or as short as I need. So maybe I could keep that up for later so that students have that when I send this out. Okay, we've got dot arrangement, so just tons of great features there. Next one is fractions. What's cool about fractions is you're not going to be able to hear it right now, but when I add these together, when I highlight these and press play, it will actually play sounds either on a fourth beat or a half beat. So you can actually let kids learn through music on what fractions sound like. There's also fraction circles. There's algebraic tiles. And then what's really cool is this probability and data. So you're going to have coins, dice, and spinners, and these are all interactive. So if I bring a dice in and zoom in, when I touch that dice, I can actually roll the dice and it's going to show an animation. And what's really cool is if I bring in several dice, like so, and then I touch and drag and highlight, I can bring up a tabulation. Now, when I highlight this and roll, that tabulation is actually going to show me exactly the rolls that I get. So it helps me look at probability. I can actually bring in spinners. I can change the spinners so we can talk about the probability depending on how big each color is. And then the last one I wanted to point out is this games and applications. So you can actually bring in music. So you can use these fractions and actually create music based upon these fractions. Let me delete all this. There's logic and computing. There's even chessboards, currencies. What's awesome about currencies, when I bring in a quarter, I can actually make change again, and then I can actually cash it in. So this allows teachers and students to kind of experiment with what makes up a quarter. There's clock, so we can talk about time, and there's even dominoes. One last thing I wanted to show you before we go into the second video is over here with the folder with the face. There are some example lessons that I can bring up for algebra, geometry, logic, numbers and fractions, probability. So for example, I can bring up this probability, and there is a 100 dice probability chart. So if I double click this, it's going to ask me to discard what I'm working on. Now, when I highlight all of these and tabulate, and then when I highlight them all and roll, it's going to show in my tabulation chart how many ones, how many twos, how many threes. And I can actually change this to a graph and dot point. This is a great way to show probability and charting that probability through data. So let's jump into the second video, which is this QR code and link to see how we share these and save them so that students can have these templates.